So, welcome, gorgeous souls, to another juicy, joyful episode of Live Your Best Life. I have the so wonderful Holly Matthews here with me. I'm laughing because we were chatting before, going, we really must start the podcast because there was a danger of us just not not remembering and just keeping on chatting. But Holly is an intuitive psychology coach. She is an award-winning author. She's former TV actress and singer and founder of the Happy Me Project, who learned to use her weird to stand out from the crowd. There is a ton of other stuff I could say about her. When I looked at her bio, I was like, wow, that is such a bio to really aspire to really have in your life. So I really love that, because I'm like, okay, you're showing what's possible, and I know that's a big part of your work. So I read it and I just, like, all the juices going, amazing. TED Talk, I want one. Book, I want to write one. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. But anyway, what would you like? I would love you to just do a little intro about you, my darling, so the lovely listeners can get a feel for who you are.
Reason. I mean, it's always the weirdest part of a podcast or an interview because I forget what I've done, and then people list things, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. That was good. Well done, me. It's almost like
Yeah.
it's to have that to remember because we're so in our next thing all the time, aren't we? And then we write that stuff down, and then you're like, actually, it's a lot of stuff. So yeah, I started
Mm.
acting when I was 11 years old, and I thought that's all I would do. I would be an actress, and I just loved it. I remembered recently, which is hilarious now, knowing that I am an ADHD adult, and we didn't know that was a thing back then. So, my first acting class that I went to was called Sit and Fidget, right? Which is just so funny now. So I got my parents to sit and fidget, and I sat and was fidgeting, and I haven't really stopped, to be fair. And so I went to that class, and I learned this is a job. Like, people can do acting, and they can just basically pretend for the rest. That sounds like a bit of me. I would like
Yeah.
that. I also found my people in that space. I found people that were, probably a lot of them neurodivergent, and they thought differently, they were creative, and all I wanted to do as a child was just be creative and draw and write poetry and play and all of that. And so what a gift to have been found something that I loved so early on. And
Mm.
then, because of the way my brain works, I want to do something to the nth degree. So then I was like, right, well, so how do you become an actress? So by the time I was 7 or 8, I was talking about going to RADA and working with Steven Spielberg, to anybody that would listen.
Wow.
And then it so happened that a TV show was being made in Newcastle upon Tyne, where I'm from, which there was a kids' TV show called Biker Grove, and then they were going to make this adult show called Keysiders, which was supposed to be like the new EastEnders. Obviously, we've never heard of it, so it didn't materialize.
Yeah.
But it was like in the local paper, and so there was a number, because we didn't have the internet then, because we are both
No.
older than the internet, which
Yeah.
horrible thing to say. We're older than the internet. You know what I mean? We're like black and white. And
Yeah.
so I this was in the paper, and then my dad saw it, knew I wanted to be an actor. He said, "Oh, this is this new show," and I said, "Well, you've got to get me on it." So he rang this number, and they said, "We really don't need kids for this." So, and they said, "Why don't you contact Biker Grove? Like, we'll give you the casting details for them." And so he contacted. I mean, it seems so basic now, which is hilarious, but he rang
Yeah.
the casting person from Biker Grove, and they said, if you just send a letter in, then it'll go in the pile of letters. And so I wrote a letter. So I would have been 10, and I wrote this letter, and I honestly thought this was going to be like some kind of urban legend, to be honest. Like, I really wrote the letter. On my 30th birthday, my parents put on a canvas, they found the letter, and it's so cute and it's so funny. And it says, "My name is Holly and I'm an actress," because, like, zero doubt, I was affirming
You
it.
just claimed it, right? Yeah.
And it says, "I have brown hair," which I've done in brown, because, like, visual, and green eyes, green. It's written in Comic Sans, because the fancy font of the time, where it looked fun.
Yeah.
And it says, I'm an actress. I would like to be on your TV show, Biker Grove." And I think it says, I do my acting class, and I'm not shy one bit. Just letting them know, this is how I was. And then at the very bottom, I've put, "P.S. please write back soon, and then like loads of exclamation marks, because I just wanted them to write back. Like,
Oh,
and they did write back, and they got me in for auditions, and I auditioned for about six times, didn't get the part. So I got right up. I was on set. I was working with other actors, and the part was actually for somebody's sister, or somebody's sister who was all. There was a guy already in it, and didn't really look alike, and so I didn't get it. But at that age, I didn't think, oh my God, like I didn't get the part. I thought it's doable then, because I got on
mm,
set. My child's brain, and the fact I lived in a family, I was very lucky. I was brought up in a family that just let me be. And my dad, from a very young age, particularly because he came from no money, dirt poor Newcastle, and he used to say to me, just, the world is your oyster. Don't let anybody nail your feet to the ground. You've got to
yeah,
get. He used to sing it. I've forgotten who the song was by. And it's not a diss at Newcastle specifically, it's just about exploring. And you and I were
mm,
talking about kids before, and getting our kids to go past their current horizons, explore,
yeah.
never come back. But my dad used to sing this song, and it was "You've got to get out of this place." I can't think who it was.
Oh, yes, I know. I know the one you meant. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Best thing you ever do. And he used to sing
Mm,
that to me. And he used to say to me, you've got to get out, you've got to go and explore, and don't just, he said, you always used to say to me, people will always know you work in class because of your accent. You'll always have that, but just enunciate your words, slow down where you need to, own who you are, and go and try things, and just open doors. And now that, what a gift to give your children
yeah.
in a generation that really didn't do that.
Yeah,
And
it really wasn't typical. Yeah.
it was it. And so I think for me that I just, I then, I didn't have that fear of that failure. 6 months later, they wrote a part in for me, and I then got that call, and was on that show for 7 years. So I suddenly, at a really young age, was in this world of acting, and I didn't think I'd do anything else. I thought that was my joy. I thought that was the path that I was going to be on, and for a long time it was. I left that show. I signed to Sony as a solo artist. I did MTV and Top of the Pops and Disney, and I didn't really love that, if I'm being honest. I kind of, that was more of a just, let's see what happens with this. I
Yeah.
sing. That didn't, and well, what happened, on the TV show, I left the show. It went out on the BBC, and on the Saturday I was on Top of the Pops in real life. That was fluke, just happened that way. And
Yeah.
then I did about a year of kind of doing all of the singing stuff. By the time it came out, and this is like pre, really people, pre social media, really, I think maybe MySpace was around, if that. And it just didn't get traction. There was lots of reasons for it. When it hit on the Saturday, I knew where it was going to chart, my single. On the Sunday, it went out on the Radio 1 chart show, 32. It hit so it was still in the top 40, but at a time when we were looking at like Pop Idol and stuff, everything had to go to
Mm,
just, it was manufacturing so quickly that if it wasn't top five, it wasn't anything. And so on the Monday morning, I get a call, it's been nice working with you, goodbye. So I've gone from
no.
my first
Wow.
job, 7 years doing that, it's as easy. Everyone says acting's hard. Look at me, everything's easy. And then, woof, back down to earth. And that was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. I
Mm,
really believe that it was one of the best things. One, I didn't feel the joy from doing that. I didn't love that side of the industry. And then, second of all, that resilience taught me to get back up, to listen to myself, to tune in. And then I went back to drama school and kind of started to do that. However, I was sneaking out to do auditions, which you're not supposed to do.
right.
And then I got a part on a TV show called Waterloo Road. And so I quit drama school before the end of the first year and went to Manchester. And then I was doing all of the rounds of that, and never thought I would do anything else. And then I met my husband, an entrepreneurial guy who matched my energy. We had 2 kids, and then Ross got brain cancer.
Mm,
We were hit with something that was completely not on our radar. Like
yeah.
we hadn't been around cancer. We were lucky we hadn't been around cancer. It's so prevalent,
Mm,
and he was 29, so we didn't
wow.
think about it. It wasn't in our plan.
No.
3.5 years later, Ross died of brain cancer. And for me, I had this shift. And again, all throughout these times, you're having children, Ross getting cancer, Ross dying of cancer, each one of these moments were a moment to check in and go, is this working? What can we do better? how do I deal with this? What do I do
Yeah.
next? And I think for me, throughout all of it, it was no one's going to fix it for you. And I don't mean that in a like, I have to be on my own. I don't mean like community matters and all of that, but I mean,
Mm.
it's still, and people get quite triggered by this. And I'm not talking about mental illness, I'm talking about what we choose to do when we are struggling. But happiness
Yeah.
has to be a choice. And it's a hard choice sometimes. It's a really hard choice in those moments when life is doing the stuff that it does. And but I remember at each stage going, okay, I see the pain. This is the pain. We're not denying that. There's the pain. But where the hell is the joy? Because
Yeah.
somewhere, and I'm going to have to focus on that, or otherwise I can't get through this. And so for me,
Yes.
that's how I've ended up in the space of self-development, because I'd always done it. So when I was the kid on the telly, I had looked for my joy because it was hard being suddenly in the public eye on a platform when nobody had a platform. It's different now. Everybody's got social media, or they've got some platform. It's a different world.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been on telly. Like, it sounds weird to say now, but when you and I were growing up, if someone was on telly, it was a big deal. Like,
Huge. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
put people on the telly, did we? Like, it was. I mean, I remember going to London one time. I'd been on the show for quite a while, and we used to go down to do like interviews on, Blue Peter and CBBC and all of that, live and kicking. And I was down there and with another castmate, and someone got really excited because they saw us and recognized us. And she said, I remember she said, "Oh my God, you're from the telly." And I just remember it really stuck with me
That's
because it was
so funny, isn't it?
like the EastEnders and Coronate.
This
They were
other world.
yeah. And yeah, I think so for me, self-development came, and I can't really pinpoint why. My dad was a welder, my mum worked in a bank. Like, it wasn't like they did have a bong in the front room, to be fair, and they were like
Right.
hippies and stuff for a while. Like, they were punks and then hippies for so, there was an element of like be who you want to be. But
Yeah.
I think that exploration was really like a quite a natural thing for me, like to look for hope, to look for something
Yes.
better. And so even in the times when I really struggled, I was looking for there must be a better way to do this. And I was that weird kid that on the outside was like going and drinking cheap wine on the street with my friends, but then I'd go home and be listening to like monks meditating and stuff, and like doing like
Right.
witchy spells and stuff, because I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I feel bad. How do I not feel bad? What do I do to not feel bad? And so I'd learned all this stuff, and over the years of being an actor, I'd learned all of this kind of self-development stuff, and I'd done training in it, but just for me, because I was you're dealing with rejection all the time and being in
Yeah.
and doing that. And so it was only when Ross got sick, when my husband got sick, that people started to listen to what I was saying, because I was super protective. I was like, no one's going to tell us our story. You can shut up. You can get out. We're not going to be dealing with you anymore because there's a big fat boundary there because we have to deal with this. And
Yeah.
I think because I had a lot of knowledge in how our brains work, because I just loved all of that stuff, and I had the ability to articulate that because of acting and performance, it was this just very organic move into that space. And there was nothing for me clunky about it. It was like, well, as an actor, I learn about the character, how their brain works, and then I
Mm.
pretend to be them. And
Mm.
as a coach, I learn about my clients' brains, and then I support them in working to get to where they want to be. It's not that different. I just don't pretend to be my clients unless I know them really well, and then I might try.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
so it was very similar, but I think for other people around me, which is often the case, it was harder for them. So my mum for a long time would go, "So when are you going to go back to acting? So when are you going to do that again?" And I'm like, because she couldn't move, like, and you'll have
Right.
experienced this yourself probably, going from teacher to
Yeah. Yeah.
actor. People must have had a push against that, I would imagine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because there's that safety there, you know. What I'd love to know, because like confidence is like your jam, right? Like confidence like weaves through everything you talk about. So like, what is it that you're right, my darling?
No, you don't edit this either.
That's fine. I said we are not
Yeah,
polished and
I'm just
perfect.
talking on coffee.
Are you okay though? Are you okay? I don't need to come and try and perform some Heimlich through the
Oh,
screen.
I don't think we can, but we're good. I'm
You're
good.
good. You're good. What I'd love to know, like you shared so much, and thank you for sharing so like openly and honestly. it's so huge what you've been through, isn't it? Losing your loved one at such a young age, as a wife, as a mum. But your response around it is incredible, isn't it? And like you say, like you can go in many different ways, right? And you're looking at this thing which is like, undoubtedly shit, like the feelings around it, like this is there's like there's no sugarcoating, it is shit, right? But then you're still going, but where is like the pleasure, where is the things which are going to fill my soul while this is which is really hurting my soul is going on, and I we've all experienced loss in different iterations. I haven't experienced a loss at that level, at that depth, so my heart to yours. However, what I do speak about through my lived experience is that we like the two can kind of like be in the same room together, right? Like we can have extreme sorrow and we can have extreme joy, that they
Not
can dance.
positive. And I think that's actually uncomfortable for people to,
Yeah,
we're more comfortable with people's pain than we are their joy, and we are more comfortable with our own pain than we are our joy. And I think it's Brene Brown that talks about joy foreboding, and I think that's
mm,
such a thing. Like, we're scared of it because we don't want it to be taken. Where
yes,
we can get into a mindset of recognizing, if you are in your joy, really be in it. Because, and this isn't to be negative, it's just the highs and lows of life. Like,
yeah,
I'm in my TED talk, and I know you will do your TED talk, and I can't wait for it. And it's
yeah,
happening already. It's just waiting for you to find its moment. And I did
exactly.
my TED talk for a long time before it came about, by the way. And then when it came about, it was at my old college that I went to. I was asked to go there, and the theme of it was life finds a way. And I was like,
Wow.
definitely my topic. Like, that's my theme. Like, let's talk about that. But in that, I use the analogy of childbirth for how I see life, and this very much sits in what we're saying here. Because when I, before I'd given birth naturally, I didn't know what that would be like, and I'd watched, BBC Casualty and stuff, and I'd seen just like someone just in pain constantly, when in reality you go through contractions and you have a pain, and then you get a moment of respite. And life
Mm,
is the same. It's just, the problem is that when we're in our respite, we don't notice we're there because we're worrying about the next pain, and we're not
yeah,
acknowledging the joy. So in those moments, even if they're brief and they're flitting, we're on to the next thing, we're sat back thinking about the thing that just happened that we're sad about still, without really being aware enough to be in the moment, in our moments in between. And that,
yeah,
if we can't avoid pain. That's not what life's about, right? And we're not trying to do that. And we're not, you and I, neither of us believe in toxic positivity. I'm not saying everything is joyful all of the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no,
Obviously not. Some days are fucking awful, right?
yeah,
But what you're saying there, and I totally get on board with this, is something can be really fucking awful, and literally sat there can be something brilliant. And in really deep, and anybody that's gone through really deep, painful grief, particularly, I think you find, there's even a term, gallows humor, right? You find in that pain really terrible humor sometimes. I mean, me and my daughters are terrible, and I have to say to them, you've got to stop doing that to people, because you can't make dead dad jokes. Like, it's so. Texas, my youngest, put a video up on TikTok yesterday of me, right, with her, a picture, and it was a really nice thing. And it was like, if it was some music was like, it was something like, if I lost my mom, I lose everything, right? And it was like, it was really meant to be sweet. It was meant to be sweet. As a hashtag, she's put, because her friends here, I say, she's put hashtag dead dad jokes. And I'm like, Texas, all our friends are like, Texas, you can't say, like, but my kids are like ruthless with stuff like that. But
well, and it's her experience, right? And also then there's that conditioning of how we do grief,
yeah,
what the expectation is. And it's like, fuck that stuff, like let everybody do it their way,
yeah.
and trust that it's okay for them to do it their way.
That's one thing that for me, I really did gift myself. I remember we were in the hospice for about a month with Ross, and that's hard. And anyone who's experienced watching somebody die in a hospice, And particularly with brain cancer, because you lose them before you really lose them, before their body has given up. And so
Right.
watching somebody's body like basically eat away at itself, it's a very strange process. And what's weird is my husband was autistic and very science based, like loved stuff like that. And I kept thinking he would be really interested in this. Like, I know that's a weird
Right.
thought, but I was
Yeah.
like, he would be really interested in how his body was trying to stay alive here, which
Mm.
is a weird thought. But you know, being in the hospice for that length of time, you're finding those moments of joy within that. You're finding that humor. And while I was there, I remember saying to myself, what however you deal with this is okay. Like, I remember thinking there was a lot of noise when Ross died because, you know, because of my acting, his dad also had been a Premiership footballer and his brother was a footballer. So there was a lot of, like, there was literally paparazzi at the funeral. It was in on like it
Right.
was on every major newspaper, and I'm sat in this hospice and there's presents turning up and there's people trying to get in, which was the like it was a level of intrusion I'd not experienced before. And you know, there's pros and cons in that as well. I didn't have to tell anybody Ross died, everybody knew, but then there's a lot of eyes on, which was intrusive. But I do remember
Mm.
thinking, you know, there was a lot of judgment, as there always is, like, because I was talking about it online, just my way of dealing with it. I grew
Yeah.
up on TV with a camera in my face. That was my safe space. When I went out there, I was the kid on the telly. When I was on set, I was safe. When I was on the in the wings of a stage, I was safe. I was myself. And so for me, talking on camera is my most comfortable space. Probably weird for other people, but for me, it was cathartic. And I
Yeah.
this understanding that one day I won't remember this time. I won't remember this. It's traumatic, and somebody else needs to hear it because there's other
Yeah.
people sat there that they need to hear what I'm talking about because I'm confident enough to say the things they might be feeling inside. But I
Yeah.
also, because of that, there was, you know, a lot of people would have an opinion and all of that. And I really remember thinking to myself, well, I'm about to become a widow. And if you Google widow, it's basically like witch. It's an
Right.
old crone and a witch, right? And I was like 32. And I was like, I don't really want that life. I'm not about that. And then I reminded myself who the fuck I am. And I really remember thinking, you haven't done life how you were told you were supposed to, not at one single step. When you were a kid, you got a job at 11. You were on TV. You were at school, then you know, you went you got a job doing singing, then you left drama school. You've done everything that people told you not to. Even meeting my husband, I was with somebody else in Essex. I had a mortgage and a dog, and then I wasn't very happy. Obviously, it was a young relationship that went too far, quite frankly.
Right.
Then I met Ross and went, was something there. There was something there that we couldn't deny. And I got on the megabus and from Essex and went to Coventry and didn't come back. And everyone was mad. Everyone
I
was so
love
mad.
that.
Even me and Ross getting married, right? We didn't tell anyone. We just went and got married in hoodies and trainers, and then text everyone, had a cup of tea, and then went back to work. And everyone was fuming. But I had to sit in this hospice and go, stop trying to whittle like everybody
Yes.
telling
Like
you.
they tell you.
Stop
Yeah.
trying to grieve like they're telling you. Just find a fucking route. Like just
Yeah.
find through this. There will be a route, and that was really comforting. And I think this is why I bang the drum so hard about being your weirder self, because when you are that, that's how you find your joy. That's how you find your route through pain. You stop listening to everybody else because that's their version and that's their fear. That's their story. And so when I then really tapped into that, it allowed me to find those moments of joy. And you know, me and my girls laugh so much. And you know, I did a talk not long ago actually on the humor around grief, and sort of was reflecting on some of the things. And I'll tell you one that we laughed so hard about, and it was one of those things, and it comes from another joy of mine, which is creativity, right? So one of my biggest joys is when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm stressed, I like to paint, I like to get creative, I like to do art. I mean, I've currently, my downstairs toilet has got half a leopard print painted ceiling because I was sad and I thought I'll paint the ceiling leopard print, that might make me happy. But then
Yeah.
I'm bored, and so I've got half a ceiling. When I'm sad again, I'll go back up and finish, you know, one day. But this creativity, right? So all my kids are very creative. My kids love it as well. And there was one day, Brooke, my oldest, said it was around either their dad's birthday or Father's Day. They're quite near, and we always do something around that. We acknowledge it. And so she was like, I'm going to do a poster of dad. So I've stuck my oar in because I'm excited because it's creative. And I'm like, oh, why don't you make it big? And we could do it bigger. And then she was like, oh, okay, so I'm like sticking so she can make it. And I was like, you can make it like life size, really, couldn't you? Like you do a really big one, that'd be fun. So she's doing it, she's drawing. And I said, oh, why don't you like we could print his face, then you could do the clothes, right? So we're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. So print his face off and then print his hands off and print some feet off. And then we were like, oh, what if you use some of dad's old t-shirts and you could like cut it up and this is already, you can see this is going too far. But we were having fun doing the creative side of it. So we've done all this thing. So we're getting it, we put it up, we cut it out so it's like a shape of him. My printer, the color isn't working in my printer. So now you need to imagine that the face is gray, the hands are gray, the feet
No.
are gray, and
Oh.
it's life size with his clothes on it. So
Oh.
I've got bifold doors, I've stuck it up, right? We've stepped back. I mean, Brooke was like 12 or something, and we've both went, that's a bit grim, isn't it?
Yeah.
That looks like him dead. Like it looks like people are gonna come in and be like, oh, they're not coping. Look what they've done. We
Yeah.
instantly knew. We were like, let's take it down. We've
Yeah.
gone too far with it. We've took it, but we laughed so much at our silliness of it. Like, and
Yeah. And that's the connection, right? The doing, the being, you know?
oh my God, so much. But those are the, for anyone that's going through, grief or tough stuff, just life's bloody hard. We
Yeah.
absolutely duped right into adulthood. When we were
Yeah.
kids, we were like, those adults have got, look what they can do.
Yeah.
There's bills to pay, and you have to, there's just a never-ending cycle of people wanting food off me and filling a fridge and putting petrol in my car and washing clothes. And what is that about? Fuming.
Yeah.
Absolutely a rubbish deal. I'm not into it. The only good thing about adulthood, and I said this to my daughter the other day, is that I can eat 2 ice creams on the bounce if I want. Like I could just have 2 ice creams. Couldn't do that as a kid. That
You
was
don't
a
have to ask permission, right? With the confidence stuff, which I know is like in everything you do, what is it that drew you toward? I like I've got feelings from what you've shared, but I love for you to expand. Like, why confidence? Why have you explored that? Because this is what you really love to support your people with, the people that come into your world. They're there for a reason. Like, what is it about confidence that grabs you?
So I think for me, not being a kid, I was very articulate as a kid. Like I could hold conversations with an adult. Like I was good, but I was actually had quite low self-esteem, apart from the thing I was good at, which was acting. So in
Mm,
that world, that was the thing I was competent at. So I felt confident. Outside of that, socially, I struggled. I understand that now, that there was a lot of me being neurodivergent that was missing social clues and things like that. And so being an actor and becoming an actor taught me to mask. Again, I didn't know that at the time, but what I learned was if I act like this, they will like me and they will.
right.
And so I learned that skill and it was very fucking effective. So I was in what you would have considered the popular group in school. I cosplayed as a neurotypical person and I was very effective at it. The problem with that for me was there was a complete disconnect for me personally. And all I was doing was hosting all of this anxiety in my body because I was
Mm,
going to be found out. If they only knew all of the things that I've got going on, all of my mess and my chaos and my fears and all of the stuff. So I'm hosting this in my body and I'm doing a great impression of trying to do what I think is going to help me to stay in the tribe, right? Which we're all conditioned to do, whether you're neurodivergent
totally.
or
Mm,
stay in the group, you'll die otherwise. So
mm,
I'm doing all of that stuff and people are connecting with that version of me. But for me, and I described it many years later to a therapist, but I said, I'm behind a pane of glass and I'm doing an impression of a person that they like and they like it. And I know that they're instantly connected with me. And I've always had this. People will instantly connect, but it takes another level for me to get past that for people because to really see to get past the pain, to break through that glass, you've got to really
mm.
be vulnerable. And so for so many years, for a lot of years, and really, you unpeel layers, don't you? It's not
Yeah.
a one and done. And people need to know that when they do self-development, it's never ending. There is no badge at the end, right?
Yeah. It's the further you go, the further you go, right?
Oh yeah, and you're like, oh, it's actually my genes, my generational stuff. I need to. Oh, for God's sake, it's never ending. So like I was doing this, and I was definitely unlayering, but I think my most recent really like unlaying was when Ross died, because it jolted me into, we're gonna die. Like somebody like
Mm,
that, Ross was a big character, like absolutely himself to the fullest degree. If there was ever a lesson that I was taught, it was that. Ross would say, no one gives a fuck, like be yourself. He said to me after his second brain surgery, I've done everything that I want to do, I regret nothing. I don't think we could want for more than that in our lives. I said everything, I've said what I would think. Yeah, some
wow.
people thought he was a prick, and some people loved him. He did everything with heart, and he was honest, and that doesn't make him right, but his direct brain would, and that's why I loved him so much, because it was easy for me, because there was no pretense, there was no pretend, it was, this is how I feel. And so that was easy. So for me, understanding early on what it feels like, and the suffocation it feels when you don't really believe in yourself, it will, we talked
Mm,
about my dad saying don't let people nail your feet to the ground. If you have not got self-belief and confidence, it nails your feet, you can't do anything. And I'm not just
yeah.
talking about like social anxiety, because again, that these things can be, I fully believe this stuff can be taught. Looking into it for my second book, which was all about confidence and self-belief, I was looking into, I'm a nerd, so I like to look at the research, and what do we know about our genetics, and what plays a part. Of course it plays a part, there is always going to be genetics that plays a part. In some respects it doesn't interest me, because you can't do anything about it, but it's just knowledge, because I want to explain to people, yeah, there might be a level of set point. It's not a confidence gene, by the way, it's just like certain traits like extroversion or introversion. But let's say you had, and we will never know, let's say you are, as your set point, more predisposed to be a little shyer, a little bit more introvert. Let's say that's the case. There is still like a massive chunk, and I forget the numbers, not very good with maths, but I've got it written down somewhere, massive chunk that we get to control. That is the bit we can do something with. But if we can move that bit over here towards confidence, your life is going to dramatically improve. So for me, I was working with people on all kinds of things. People will come to me, for all manner of different challenges they're facing. The thing that was nearly always at the root cause was, I don't trust myself, I don't believe in myself, I'm too much. And we've got my sign behind me, you were never too much, because that's so many women's stories. I'm too much, and also somehow I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Like, and we get conditioned to be like that too. But I think, so for me, it was, I was seeing it so much, I saw it myself and I felt it. And so as soon as I'd kind of got to this next level where I was aware of it, and I was able to deal with it in the moment when it showed up for me, and I would challenge those beliefs that I had. And I then realized that's the thing people are really coming to me for. And if we can get through this, they can deal with the other stuff. And when I wrote my second book, it felt like a full circle thing for me, because in the second book, it's about external confidence. How do I look confident? How do I present confidently? And then the internal, how do I actually feel good about myself? And the two are very linked. And I don't, people get really, again, triggered about when I say fake it so you make it, because they think you mean fake it forever. I'm not saying fake it
Right.
forever. I'm not
Because
saying,
that's exhausting, right? That's exhausting. Yeah.
well, I know what that is. You will, every one of us will have done the masking to some extent in
Mm,
situations where we're not really being ourselves. But I think, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there is an element, because, as an actor, if I am portraying somebody confident, I'm not going to be sat with my shoulders rolled and my hands over my mouth and shrinking myself. You instantly feel less confident. And not only that, if you roll your shoulders back and chin up, and you look at people where you can, for my neurodivergent people, I'm not saying eye contact is everything. If everything else is happening, you don't need to do that all the time. We all have our safe spaces. But if you can do that, then the world receives you differently. If you do all of the internal work, you're like, I believe in myself, but you're presenting as somebody who's shy, you won't get any movement, because the world will still see you as that version of you that looks less confident. And
mm.
so for me, bringing those two things together, it was just that, it was a really nice full circle thing for me. And over the last few years, really talking about being your weirdest self has become, I mean, something I've said for years. I've always said it to my girls, be your weirdest self. Like, that's the best people in the world. And I'm not talking performative weirdness. Let's not get
Yeah.
confused. trying to say, like, be wacky. If you are quite a quiet, reserved person who likes to wear beige and you like classical music and you're, really delicate in the way you speak, and then that's you, well, be fucking that. Be
Yeah.
that and be okay with that. Because the problem comes when we go, this is me, but then we judge us. We're
Yeah.
judging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not okay in our heads. Like, we're the judge and jury. Instead of going, it's okay for me to be me and not be like, someone will look at you or I and maybe see you doing laughter yoga and think, wow, like that's not something I could do, or see me on TV and think that's not my thing. One, we can always push them to try because you never know. But equally, it's okay if you're not. Like, find your fucking
Yeah.
joy. This is literally what you talk about all the
Yes.
time. And
Well,
the
and just find yourself. Find it, like, just allow yourself to be yourself, which sounds like such a simple phrase, doesn't it? But fuck me, does
why is it
it
so
does
hard?
it stop people in there? But because of like all the stuff we go through, like you're saying about adulting, like I think the absolute like teachers for us are like little children, right? Because they are being their weirdest self. They are being their full selves. They are in their joy. They can literally like just take delight in simplistic things, right? There's such models for how to live life. And then what happens, and as an ex teacher, I kind of saw this as kids would kind of travel through the system, things could start to undo them. And then, a bit more of life happens at secondary school and a bit more as a young person, and and this is what happens. It kind of scrapes away. So you're like, do you know what? I've got evidence that it wasn't safe for me to be me. I've got evidence that it's not, if I'm my fullest or my weirdest or my whole self, whatever, like language lands with people, but it's all the same thing, right? But like I've got evidence that when that happened, that was the reaction. And so I'm going to withdraw, you
I'm gonna
know?
I'm gonna wear my mask. I'm gonna hide my pain and my shame. And I really, like, for me now, I really understand, one, the somatic side of letting that out of your body, which is
Mm,
massively into what you do as well, like letting that out because it sits so heavy in your body. But
yeah,
also, we don't connect in our clean and we connect in our mess. We connect in our edges. We do not connect with anybody when we are doing that masking and that perfectly polished. I don't give a
yeah,
shit about that. I only want to talk to you about your deepest, darkest trauma and your desires and the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you and the funniest thing that's ever. I only want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about Love Island with you. Well, you can, but give
yeah.
me an insight. Like, tell me why.
But But you know what this does, right? Because then it just makes, because a lot of this is all around shame, isn't it? A lot of this is like, I can't be that because I feel the shame because of the thing and because of the reaction. And it's like, if you can like bring that to the table and then let that go and just give yourself a shit ton of love for it, because God, let go of that thing that maybe has been driving whatever
Well,
patterns,
you need to,
know.
for every, as we said earlier, for every positive, there is a negative, right? And, when I look at like the too much storyline, which many of us have, and I certainly had, you're too much, you're too loud, you talk too much, your ambitions are too much, your clothing's too much, or this, and I housed that within me, you're too much and you need to place more. Then I became an actor and I had money in an area of Newcastle where we didn't have money, people didn't have money, and then I was the kid with money and didn't really actually have it. It was in a bank account, but people's perception was there. She's got money, so then all of this stuff would be, well, I got to play small. I'm an older sister. My sister's incredible, but she would often have people would say it to my mom and dad, oh, which one's the star? Imagine that. Imagine for my sister,
Wow.
but also for me, because I also was like, then I went woof, because I love my sister and she's incredible. So
Yeah.
I don't want to dampen her experience and make dampen her shine because I'm here and they're telling me that I'm the star. So I just went, you've got to play small. And the
Yeah.
happened is, for me, for many years, I developed this belief that if I'm bigger, if I'm full, if I'm successful, if I make money, I make everybody else unhappy. And
Right.
And that sat with me. And I did not, it took a while to see it like that. I didn't see it like,
Yeah.
but that would mean that every time I got to a level, I would self-sabotage that shit. I would
Yes.
spoil it. I would ruin it. Or I would, and this is still an ongoing thing. I have to be very mindful of this, even still. My language would be, and I clock myself, I don't say this now. I clock, although, well, hang on, let me just get this out. I used to say, I just wing it. I'm just winging it.
Right.
I looked at that and I was like, you're minimizing that. You're not just fucking winging it. I am relentless. I'm a relentless human being. And again, that could be seen as negative, and it used to be levied at me as a negative thing. I take that back. I'm relentless in a positive way and, in all of the ways. But I housed all that stuff. And so many of us have this, but for that too much storyline that I was gifted and then adopted as my own, that's the reason I stand on stages talking to fucking thousands of people. That's the reason I've got 2 best-selling books that are published in about 5 different countries. My too muchness is why we're having this conversation. So we can
Yeah.
stop
And
telling.
and that's not fucking winging it. That is owning who you are and claiming your space and being yourself,
Yeah,
right?
this is it. I mean, my second book, I tell you one thing that I did, and it was really for little me. It was, and it was, I was scared
Right.
of doing it, but it was, and she needed me to fucking say it.
Yeah.
That girl, that teenage me who was shrinking and trying to, like, the version of me that when I signed to Sony, I had a hate website set up about me from people from school, and it said, "How do you know Holly? Would you piss on her if she was on fire?" That was the
What?
off, right? For that girl there who thought she had to shrink herself because everybody else had something to say. When my second book came out and it's called Find Your Confidence, I said, I thought to myself, I can't whisper that fucking message at all. Because if you're saying to someone, find your confidence, you best advertise that big. And so I got my book put on the biggest billboard in the UK, the second in Europe. It was fucking massive. If you've never seen it, you need to Google it. It's in Manchester. And to have my book up on there, like, for a whole day,
Yeah.
book being there saying, self-doubt has been cancelled, and my book, I just thought,
Oh,
get my parents to come and see it, and it was taking my kids to see it, to show my children that's what you can be doing. You can do that if you want. And that
yes.
was for little me to go,
Yes.
can do this stuff. I know anyone that is listening, right? I know that when you listen to a podcast, and I've been guilty of this too, we hear people's stories and we hear their end result, right? And I've skimmed over the surface of the pain, right? I still deal with stuff. I am chronically overwhelmed. I am ADHD as fuck. I have medication for that. I'm a single mom who is, busy all the time. I've loads of joy in between that, but I don't want to negate the pain that I've experienced along the way. But what I can tell you now is if you can fill your life with joy, whatever fucking goals you have out there, you can get it. You've just got to go, even if it feels implausible. I mean, you said rightly before we started, you changed from being a teacher. You could have just continued, but you stopped and you went, this isn't for me anymore. And this is making me curious over here. And you went
Mm.
for it. Now, yeah, that bit of bravery takes a leap, right? I get it. But look what you're achieving. Look what you're achieving. And you of a few years ago probably would have been going, there's no way I can be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and this is for everybody. It can be done. I know it's scary to say it out loud because it is. When I sat and we sat in my kitchen now, and I remember when I said I said I want to write a book, right? That was scary in itself. I knew I wanted to write a book, but I was like scared. And I sat with a friend of mine who has a marketing agency. We were trying to map it out, and he said, "What do you want? What's the top of this pyramid?" And I said, "Well, for me, I want to be the go-to no bullshit self-development coach in the UK first. That was my kind of, and Happy Me TV. Like, I want to reach a lot of people." And he said, "So how do you get there?" And I was like, "Well, I want to write a book, and I want it to be with one of the biggest publishers in the UK." Now, saying that out loud, I could have thrown up in my mouth. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, who? The audacity? Who do you think you are? All of those
Who are
stories.
you not to, though, right? Who are you not to?
This is it. And when we say it out loud, yeah, we're scared and we've got all the voices of our past going, who do you think you are? And all of that. But I thought, right, I went in with a very open, like a student mindset of going, I don't know what I'm doing. And when we do that, that's a let off, right? Because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to take a step. So up here is publisher, right? Who are they and how do people do it? Well, that's what I'll research first. So I'm like, right, that's my next step is research how we do that. What do I need to do? Every little step was tiny little steps, tiny little steps. And even when I finally got my first book deal, which was in the middle of lockdown, I still couldn't believe it. Like I still now, 2 books down, people might think that I'm still wowed by it. You know, when I get a message of someone from Saudi Arabia who's like, which I had yesterday, saying they read my book, it changed their life, that blows my mind.
Mm,
I can't believe I wrote a book too. Can't believe it.
yeah,
It's wild.
yeah,
It can be done. I'm not special. Like I am just not. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. I'm no special, more special than anybody else. Just
yeah.
try.
And I think this is so important, and I say this such a lot. It's like, let people show you what's possible. I was saying it right at the start, right? And this is where we can get really caught up in the stuff that holds us back. We can go, oh, comparison, I'm not them. They're not me, I'm not them. And I just think, do you know what? That like the shift, the great mindset shift is to go, thank you for showing me what's possible. If it's possible for you, it's possible for me. If it's possible for you, it's possible for me. And from that way, what we realize is the biggest limitations are often ourselves. And when we can kind of go, oh, I'm gonna stop like getting in the way of that. And like you said, you went really freaking, like when you were saying what your goal was, like all I could feel is like bubbles of excitement. And then it doesn't matter if like that bit happened, right? It's about going, I'm gonna do it. You know, I'm like, why not have a like take a giant leap? Because sometimes the giant leaps absolutely pay off. And if not, there'll be like a hop over here and a jump and then over here. Like
I
it,
often say it's a cha-cha. Sometimes we cha-cha slide it a little
yeah,
bit. Move a
yeah,
little back and forth. Like we're never really failing. We're just experiencing. And
yeah,
I think when I was really young, one of the things I said to myself was I did say I was going to write a book, and I used to kind of joke about it, but it actually helped me. And I think we can all have this as like our thing. But it was, I'll have good stories when I'm old. I just want to have really good stories, which serves me well right now. But I want to have things I can say I did. And some of my friends joke about me being Ness off what's it
oh
called?
yeah, Gavin and Stacey,
People
yeah,
like Ness off because I do have weird stories. And one of my other friends, she's a photographer, and she always goes, "My weirdest situations have been with you. Like when just random." She's like, you've always been involved." But it's because my mind goes, that would be fun to do. Wouldn't that be a funny story? Like that would be funny to say, like that we did that. Like even me and my husband getting married, we knew we loved each other. We didn't want a big wedding. That sounded like hell of planning and stuff. I just thought it's not for me. And my mum and dad were punks. My mum got married with red hair and a red wedding dress. They had not taught me that you do it traditionally if you don't want to. So for me, that was like, oh, that'd be a funny story if we just, wouldn't it be funny if? That's usually something I say, wouldn't it be funny if, or wouldn't it be good if? And then some like mad hat caper will come off. But we're living in our life now. Like
yes,
like I know we have goals right over here and here, and we put these goals out there. But I had this realization in the middle of a yellow box going to Morrison's when I was like I'd had my daughters, and it was just a random Tuesday. And I remember my brain's busy, so I pulled in and I was waiting to turn right. And as I went, I thought, this is my life. I'm just going to Morrison's. I've got 2 kids. I live in Coventry now. And it was one of them moments where I just kind of went, oh, we live in the small moments. Like it's the big parties that we do. We think oh, it's no worries. Can you hear me?
yeah. That was really weird. You just totally
Oh,
froze.
oh, it's just hang on. It's just said to me my internet just went unstable.
Oh, yeah. No, you like you froze, and then I lost your sound, but you're back.
My back. What was that
Yeah,
back? So all I was saying is our life is in the little moments, right?
totally.
we're always looking for the big moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. Basically a way to point the car, right? We're going to go over there and we're going to get curious, one of my favorite words, and see what happens and have a good story.
Yeah.
But if we can think about, me and my husband used to say all the time, find happiness in the mundane. If you can find joy in how you hang the washing, how your favorite, having your favorite mug, and you're like, this is a great cup of tea in this mug. Or I often say, use the posh cups, right?
Yeah.
We're waiting for the, I don't know if it's just a northern working class thing. I suspect it's not. But when I was growing up, you had the posh cups for when people came round, the posh cutlery that you
Well, it's
weren't.
like people saving outfits, right? It's that kind of thing. It's like I'm waiting for the when, and it's
I've
like,
actually got on now just for this thing. It looks like I've got nothing on, but
oh,
we've got.
bloody, oh my God, I love that. And I put on one of my favorite green jumpsuits for the occasion
Oh
too,
no, I
because I'm just
love
like,
that.
I just want to freaking wear it. But so like this is so key, I think, in this whole discussion around joy. And you were saying about like how people can feel into the pain more than the joy and people's relationship. And I think it's because so often we want joy to be really explosive and large. And actually, I always advocate like look for the little pockets, and that can be, like you say, a cup of tea. It can be like me putting my feet on the grass when I leave the cabin after this. It can be like just hugging my jumpsuit and going, oh, that feels fucking great. Do you know what I mean? It can be touching my bracelets. Like when we start to look at life through that lens, the way we experience life completely shifts. And I think that's when we actually are truly living. And it doesn't mean the shit bits, this is not about like, oh, it's like that's just bullshit. We all know that, right? But if we can like go, oh my God, like the pink and the yellow and the words and like just the things around us, like the simple things aren't simplistic because they deliver a ton of life richness and realness and living right here, right nowness. And I think everyone knows the fragility of right here, right now. So it's like I say a lot like about our dance on this planet. If we can try and look at it like a dance, like sometimes we might go, fuck me, I'm in the rumba, what's going on? And other times it might be like a really gentle waltz, right? But like if we can view it like that, then I feel like we're honoring the fact that God, I'm so bloody grateful I am here.
I mean, I literally, that is everything. That is it. Like whether it's, you've got people that are no longer here, you're here, live.
Yeah,
I honor Ross's death, and me and the girls
yeah,
honor him by fucking living. He
yeah,
here and he lived. He did. He was 32 when he died, but God, he filled it, and it was living in his truth. It was living in, just going with what he wanted to do and not being mean to other people, but just living in his truth and doing the things that he wanted to do and trusting his own gut and what he wanted life to look like and finding those little joys, those things that bring you, even if I'm just looking at my nails now, even the little things that you think, oh, that,
yes,
that brings me joy. Like genuinely, I look at my nails and think, oh, I like them today. They're really nice.
yeah,
And that will shift, your joy will shift. And sometimes things will cease to be joyful. But you literally shift. And, we know this is how our brains work. The minute you start to focus on the good, and I know it's not always easy, there is a shift. And we talked earlier about there not being a self-development medal where you're at the end. What
yeah,
does happen though? Because I do want to give people some hope. You do learn.
yeah,
What you learn, you still do the same shit we all do. We still have the triggers, we still have the limiting beliefs. Sometimes it's like whack-a-mole with the one you thought you got. I got that
yeah,
limiting belief. That one was gone. No, it's not. It's wearing a different hat now. It's coming up over there.
yeah,
Still here. Fuck's sake. So we're off again. We're human beings. We're flawed human beings. We're doing our best, right? But what we do learn, it's what you've learned, it's what I've learned, it's what we teach people, is there are tools that you can use, because then you spot your shit earlier doors and you go, oh, I'm doing that thing again. I know
yeah.
it's gonna
Call
happen.
yourself out. Yeah.
Gently, compassionately, and then
With
we go,
love.
what do I do from here? So if it's
Yeah.
painting a print ceiling in your bathroom or whatever, joy that makes you feel good, then you know to do that, and you know how to support yourself with that. In my world, I call it my bump plan. When the bump in the road happens,
Yes,
what
I
we
talk about that.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're doing
silly.
because it's coming,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
not negative. That's not us going, oh, let's preempt it. I'm not saying that either. Let's not tell ourselves that story, but we just go, okay, so historically, I know that I do this. So for me, I know that historically, if I'm stressed, I don't eat. If I'm overwhelmed, my home will become more chaotic than normal. If I see these things and I can feel what I often say to the girls, I'm glitching. I'm glitching is where I'm like I don't know what because I'm so overwhelmed. When
yeah,
that happens, I am no use to anybody. So there is no point keeping going in that mindset. I have to stop. And for me, I now know I need to get outside. I need to go and just be at, like breathe a bit, go for a
yeah,
walk, go and get outside. I need to check in with the basics. Have I drank any water? Of course I haven't. No, I'm chronically dehydrated, so I need to go and get some water. I probably need to eat something. I need to probably see people. I need to go out the house. I need to maybe have a sleep. I need to move my body a little bit. And actually, even just those little shifts like that, I can then probably do something more effective next. And joy
yeah,
isn't, it literally has to be a non-negotiable for people.
yeah,
It can't be an
absolutely.
afterthought. It can't be when I've done this, I do that. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
because we don't know about the when, right? We don't know about the when. So we like the right here, right now is so important. And I love all that you shared, you know, all of those are spaces where you can reset, where you can find a chunk of joy, where you can feel a bit more like yourself. And if you feel a bit like 5% more yourself when you're glitching, then it's easier to come back to you. So like creating a little first aid kit, and like if anyone's listening and goes, oh shit, you know, that's me, like we're all human, like we all do it. If you find that kind of like it's hard to self-rescue when that happens for you, just write it down, like call it your first aid kit, call it whatever, you know, whatever helps you feel good.
going to do, and this is probably going to be one day when I'm feeling a little sad or overwhelmed. This is when this will happen. But I want a break glass now thing in my house. I want something that is for that,
Mm,
where it's somewhere visual, where, and I'll make it pretty and make it nice, but where on maybe it's a little cupboard with something in, or but something where when I'm feeling the things, there's stuff in there because we forget our joy in those,
yeah, yeah,
forget what brings us happiness. You know, my daughter said the other week she was listening to Spotify, she listened to music, and she was like, I forget I like music. And that's,
right,
that sounds silly, but sometimes I
no,
just like to listen to music, or I like to, I like to do a word search. That's one of my things that I'm like, I don't like if I sit and I do a word search, my brain can go into that for
yeah,
15 minutes, and I've just let my brain rest doing that. And I think the problem is sometimes, again, it's that judgment. We think that's a bit weird. Like, you've got all this work to do. You should be doing that, not joyful stuff, when in fact we've got it the wrong way around. If we do
totally,
joyful stuff, we'll get the work done. If
yeah,
we're miserable, we'll be in paralysis, or we'll be glitching around our kitchen doing nothing. Oh, that
yeah.
rained as well, which was nice.
So yeah, and you know, leading with joy, absolutely. Leading with love, joy and love, like they're so intertwined. And I think it makes I say to all my clients, like create your own little kit. You know, like if it's tricky when we're dysregulated, it is really hard for us to like suddenly go, oh, I know, I'll just you
Yeah,
know. So
we're
so
using our
yes,
own brain. We're using our fight or flight brain. We've
yeah,
lost logic. Logic's gone. We're just in
yeah,
panic, aren't we? So our brain's thinking, I'm going to get attacked by a bear. So it's not
yeah,
thinking about anything sensible. So we get back to sensible. We get back to how can I organize my life better with
yeah,
joy.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
your what's your favorite like joyful things? Like what are your go-tos? I'm just nosy, so I want to know.
Oh gosh, I absolutely that like the sea is my happy place. You
Yeah.
know, like in it, on it, like under it. I'm a scuba diver too. Like looking at it, like
Mm,
so, I go to the sea and I go,
yeah.
you know, that properly restores me. But obviously, if I'm kind of like and I need something right here, right now, I will go like super simplistic. So it might be just breathing, you know, because maybe I just need to fricking breathe. Often, like, just get outside, you know, and like outside might be I live near the beach and I live near the woods, but like you've got to get to them, right? So outside might just be feet on grass, like, oh, okay. Because all of this is like when we feel like this, we're not feeling safe, are we? So it's like, how do I get to feel safe. I get to feel safe by feeling in my body. How do I feel in my body? The sea restores me, like being outside, Mother Nature restores me, any kind of movement. So dancing, laughter yoga, yeah, things that help me go, oh, she's back, she's back. I feel a bit more home, because essentially we want to come home to ourselves, right? And all of this is about us going, I'm home, and it feels God, it feels fucking great. I feel safe. I feel the most me I've felt ever. Like that's the shift, isn't it?
That's the shift, and it doesn't, and it's available. I think
Yeah,
that's key to hear, that it's available to you. And even if right now you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, but they're down the line, we're not. Like, the only reason we're the only thing we've got different to you right now is that we've got a few more tools in our tool belt. We've learned a few more things. Maybe we had a little bit more insight and a little bit more work
yeah,
understanding how we work, but we're working with our brains, not against it. And that's the key. For me,
yeah,
my biggest shift, when I was diagnosed as an adult with ADHD, and one of the biggest shifts for me with that was, even especially in my work in life and how I organize my home in terms of how we live. Before that diagnosis, I was so conditioned to try to drag myself over here to do it in a way that everybody else did it. Even though I was living my life very differently, I was thinking, I have to be a parent like this, and we have to do this, we have to do it this way. And it was suffocating me because I couldn't work like, I couldn't sit at a desk all day doing work, or I don't work like that. And so I started to experiment with different things, and I found that that helped me. So, reading, I love to read, but I struggle to focus on reading. And I realized this in my experimentation, that I can read, but I have to move. So I started reading on the school run. When I used to take the kids to school, I'd just read when I was walking. I know people thought that was dangerous, but like, I can walk and read at the same time. It's fine. I just a quick look up. But I realized I can read a book when I'm doing that. So I would just read on the school run. Okay, that's a
mm,
solution. I can still read and I can do that. And there'll be some days when I'm just like, there's no chance I'm going to be able to focus on this particular thing. Now, I've created a world where I can choose. So I might then think, right, today I need to be on the floor. Like, I can't do that today. I can't type today. I've got my bifold doors in my kitchen. And there's some days when I'm trying to create, whether it's content or something for a client, and I know that I'm not going to be able to sit at the computer. So I will get a whiteboard pen and I will do it on the bifold doors, or because it seems more fun, it's more joyful.
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah,
even like housework, I find ways to make that a race. Like, I've got like timers. I'm like, if I do that as a race, like really fast, it'll be fun. If I open the door to the where the washing goes in, and I chuck it in, I see if I can aim it in, that'll make it fun. Like, it's a game then. And if
yeah,
I can gamify things, the boring stuff in life, then it makes it fun. But it's me working with my brain, not against it. And honestly, anyone that is listening, that is available to you. All it takes is for you to decide, I don't want to feel shit. I want to find my joy. I acknowledge there will be some shit still there, and I can deal with that and cry and do all of the stuff and feel that frustration. But I'm going to keep seeking out joy. And if we can do that, we're winning more than we're not. And,
yeah,
that will pull us, it will be, I often describe it as it's our life raft. You'll see analogy, it's your life raft. If you can find those little life raft, you'll be pulled through that shitty bit. And the
yeah.
one thing we can guarantee is nothing stays the same, good or bad.
Doesn't. Yeah, yeah.
So be in your joy when you're in it, and when you
Absolutely.
know that it's going to be gone again.
Oh, darling, I could just talk to you forever. I think we probably need our own podcast show. But before we wrap up, are you open to do just a little bit of laughter with me? Because I would love to, or we're just going to do some laughter breaths. I love for anyone just to, like, when they're listening to this, and often in podcasts, like, lots of stuff comes up, right? So again, like, if anything's like kind of coming up, obviously you can reach out to you, to me, but also, like, we shift shit through laughter. And what I love so much about laughter is we're always going to have stuff to shift, always. And if we can find like more pleasurable ways for us to move things through, it's like, well, why not try a piece of that, right? So we're just going to do we're just going to do some laughter breath. So all we'll do is breathe in through here for our noses, and then breathe out with a big hearty belly laugh. Yeah. Okay. So let's breathe in and breathing out.
I love it. I love it so much.
Can we do one more? Big breath in, big breath out. Ah,
Oh.
oh, bless you. Thank you for giving that a whirl. Like laughter laughter is a really unused gift, and it's so deeper than just laughter. It is an absolute gateway. It's a portal. It's a vessel to huge life changes. You know, we can really we can step forward to things that felt really scary through developing a laughter practice. So whilst it's full of the fun, right? It's full of the big transformational shifts. So if anyone's curious, like definitely like explore your laughter a little bit more.
There's wins in the silly. The
Yeah,
silly, both
absolutely.
you and I, we sit in that space of we playful and we find fun in the world of self-development, but actually it's that stuff that I find works the best.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
fun. So yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Oh, Holly, you have literally been an absolute joy, an absolute ray of light to chat to. Like I said, I could go on for hours. I'm conscious we
Hang
probably,
out, aren't we? We're gonna hang out at my event, Be Weird Live,
yes,
and we're gonna have so much fun there. And I really didn't. I I wasn't even sure I was going to bring anybody else into this event because it's often hard to organize and things like
yeah.
that. Um, when I found you and your work, and I love laughter yoga, and I just think it's incredibly powerful. I just couldn't not. People need it.
Yeah.
You at that. We need you at Be Weird, and I knew you would bring all your own weird and your joy, and so I'm thrilled. So we get to hang out and laugh and stuff very soon.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. So before we wrap up, my darling, I know you've got Be Weird. I think with this recording, definitely be in time for Be Weird Newcastle. But yeah, whatever you would love to share in terms of how people can connect with you and how people can come and be in your world and yeah, and be their
Well,
happy new
I'm
self.
fairly accessible, and if you, it's iamhollymatthews.com or I am Holly Matthews across social media. And absolutely, if you are around for Newcastle, 15th of November, we'll be at the Royal Station Hotel. And if you Google Holly Matthews, you will find me. And if you can't, then the internet is broken. So you should phone
Yeah.
me there.
If you can't, there's something wrong. If you
Something wrong,
can't, then
but
it's
do not
glitching.
send me old pictures that you find of me on there.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that. That's not fair. You lot have got all your old, like younger you pictures hidden in your parents' loft, and
Yeah.
mine are on the internet. So that's not fair, right? So don't let me down. But come and say hi and let me know that you came from this podcast. Let me know what your joy is. Let me, it would be lovely to connect. I love hearing where people came from and their perspective on things. So just iamhollymatthews.com or any social.
Amazing. Yeah, and yeah, I will be sharing all Holly's links in the show notes anyway, but just honestly, go and give this gorgeous human a follow on Insta or whatever your socials are that you love to dance around on because, like big heart for community, we need that, right? We need that. And this is why I think, like I feel really a real synergy with you because the world needs collective good energy bringing people together to like see themselves and their magic and the light they bring. So yeah, it has been an absolute joy to chat to you, my darling. Thank you so much.